Great.
Somebody's
We're
sitting back in the room still.
And
If I may make a suggestion before we do anything else,
Yeah.
and we move the privilege, these two people are very patient way back
Yeah.
here, so if we move them up to privilege of the floor so they can speak.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay,
That
so
sounds good.
Natalie and Greg, I'm gonna mispronounce your last, please come on. I apologize for being so late. Normally we don't go to executive session, but it was necessary, so my apologies. And your last name is pronounced?
Pikulik.
I love it.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Thank you.
so now, as you know, you have up to 3 minutes,
Okay,
okay? And you direct it to the board only,
okay.
okay? And nothing personal, just give us objectively what your concerns are, what your comments are, and then we could have 2 minutes to respond if you want to, but so if we don't respond, it's not like we don't care, okay? But we want to absorb this information that you're concerned about,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, I'll try. So I'm Natalia, this is Greg Pikulik, we are residents of 51 East Shore Circle. And the problem with us is that we sold the property, built the property, built a house on the property at 55 East Shore Circle. It took 3 years, pandemic, everything, you know, how hard it was. Sold the property back in September of 2022, within, you know, short period of time. So when we got to the closing, we figured out that buyers cannot get mortgage because of the way the subdivision is created at East Shore Circle. So we got to the point that drainage district was not properly mapped, whatever the terms are. So the drainage district needed to be redone for the bank to accept and give the mortgage to our buyers. So we got to February, I think, finally we figured out what needs to be done. So we needed to do maps, which TJ Miller, I believe, is who works for the town, started working on the maps. We were told 3 months, it took 6 months. So finally we got to the August board meeting, which was decided here that preliminary timeline would be creation of public hearing in September. We missed September meeting. So we were supposed to approve public hearing in October. We are missing October meeting, obviously, that's why we are here. So we are going to November, Thanksgiving, December, Christmas. I know everyone takes vacation, everyone is gonna enjoy the holidays, but we won't be able to enjoy the holidays because the mortgage rate got up, you know, how many times during the year. So our buyers, instead of paying mortgage, they are paying rent, and they're not, and their rate increased so many times. Our equity loan offline increased from 475, I believe, in September to 8.5 now. So we are suffering, we are losing money. Not that we're gonna make a lot of money after building for 3 years, but the taxes, we were able to pay the taxes for our 2 properties, for the house and the land that we still own, the same subdivision. We cannot pay the property taxes for the house that was assessed from the full price of the market. So you sent us the bill from the amount of money that it was supposed to be sold, but we haven't seen the money. You want taxes from us. We are on delay until January now, hopefully. And if not, we are gonna pay penalty in January and another penalty in July if we can't close. So my question is, what needs to be done? And the worst part in the whole process, that there's no communication. I can never figure out who is responsible. Who is responsible for the district, for the creation of the district? Can I have an answer for that question? I can't get the answer for that question since we started working on it. No responsible, no communication, no email I can reach anyone, nothing. So here I am asking you to give me the answers for what items needed, who is gonna do the items, how long it's gonna take to finish those items, and call the meeting as soon as it's done. Doesn't matter if it's a regular board meeting or emergency meeting, but we have to close. We cannot live like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Perfect.
I didn't know it was
perfect.
Yeah, I don't know.
3 minutes. So.
It's okay. So like I said before, we're not here to answer the question.
Okay.
We'll listen to you.
Yep.
We'll absorb the information,
All right.
and we'll talk about this later, okay?
Okay.
When I say later,
Okay.
okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
If necessary.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have 10 Dennis Griffin? The good news is you didn't get called out.
Get 30 seconds into it.
I know.
Excuse me, because I'm dealing with Mother Nature and sinuses, so I'm going to try to make this quick. One of the issues that was brought to attention, and I'm not sure if the board knows about it, the village of Lansing met with Cuga Heights in regards to the future sewer plan, and I was hoping that somebody on this board is going to be involved in that. I didn't ask much questions. He had a meeting the other day with them. So I was just kind of passing this on to the board that you might want to be part of that plan. My second concern is the zoning issue. I keep hearing we got to do it, but I feel you should take your time, review everything. I'm not sure if we're talking about redoing the whole zoning or a few items on the zoning. And I was trying to figure out today, when I was doing all the research, when the last time this was done. My other concern, and I'm sure Ruth would be happy to hear this, is Cargill. I really feel we should bring the DEC into a meeting so everybody can hear what the DEC goes through, what Cargill goes through, so we know the real answers. I listened to John Dennis. I've asked people some questions, and I've been told, well, he's not on the right page. But I really feel this town board should have the DEC in here to explain the procedure that Cargill has to go through every year. And I'm finding out it's every year they do it. That's my concerns for you people. Thank you for hearing me. I'm going home.
Everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
The third person here is Vanek over at Village Circle? Is that, yes, no? Someone who signed the third page? No?
I know some
Okay.
people didn't leave, so.
My mistake. Pass that down to Mrs. Munson. All right. So, we have, and I don't know when you want to do this resolution about the
Why don't
highway.
we ask Debbie when it would be best for us to do this resolution, now or?
I don't care when you do it.
Okay.
I mean, are you
sorry.
gonna vote on it or not vote on it,
No, I
or?
think it's going to be an authorization tonight. So there'll be a resolution and there'll be an action.
It's a what?
It's a topic, it's not on the agenda.
Oh,
I think
Yeah,
that's what you're
that is
talking about.
correct.
Right, so what we're going to, at least what I'm going to propose, and if you can second it or not, is that our negotiating team for the association contract, we need to pick a team. And my suggestion would be Mike Mosley and Mark Terrell and Joe Wetmore and Ruth Roth and Guy Crook. And they will sit down with the association from the highway department, and they will negotiate, and they will come back to the board when they have something that they've negotiated. And if we need to talk to them privately, we will, and we'll see where this goes. Did I kind of capture everything we talked about? I think so. Okay. Do I have a second?
so you're making a motion
That's
for
the
that?
motion.
To create a negotiating team to discuss the highway agreement?
Yep.
And on the team is gonna be Mike Mosley, Mark Terrell, Joe, Ruth, and Guy?
Yes.
You'll second it, okay. I didn't catch who the first was.
Ed.
Ed was the first. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, let's move on then. I mean, we should be looking. Number 7.
Okay, but,
Yes.
so you're not voting on this? to make it a preliminary budget tonight?
Well, that's what we're doing. That's what you just
Number
said.
7.
Oh, I thought that was number 6. Sorry.
No, we're all over the place, back and forth. and-
We're going to do this slowly so you don't fall behind.
Got it.
Are you ready? You tell me when, Mrs. Munson.
I'm ready. I'm ready to rock and
We
roll.
need a
Let's move.
resolution.
I will move it with all the adjustments that we talked about earlier.
I'll second.
All the,
All the
It was-
adjustments.
was there any adjustments other than that was on this page?
No,
Those are the adjustments to which he is speaking.
I just want to make it clear that we're approving all of those.
Resolution memorializing changes to
Yes.
revised tentative budget
Yes.
and authoring preparation and filing of preliminary.
Okay,
Yeah, okay. So that's Joe, you made the motion?
sure.
Andrew Benson?
Yes.
Ruth Groff?
Yes.
Bronwyn Losi?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes. Okay. Item 8. Proposed Bolton Point water line extension. To the discussion of proposed water main extension 14, 16, and 18 on Bolton Point Road.
Is this one we've heard before, or is this brand new?
We've heard this one before many times.
It goes back to 2015.
Oh.
It's the third or fourth time it's come forward. And as I noted, it's not clear what water line means, because the procedure for an individual outside user line is very different than the procedure for a main extension. One is private, one is public. They're very, very different procedures. I'm not sure which is requested here.
They've asked for what in the past? Have they asked for both or just one?
They asked, well, I can't tell you the whole history, but in 2015, it was outside user individual extensions. And the problem was that what was needed was a main, because there was going to more than one person in it. And then the idea was, we'll put multiple individual lines in one trench, which of course will work. I remember doing research on an old easement that was given by, well-known guy, passed away, nice guy, and it was like, yes, that could be used for that purpose. It was dedicated for the purposes of the Consolidated Water District. And then the whole thing went away, and then it came back in 2018, and an attorney drafted an easement, and they went for an approval, but it never went to Wasabi, and the easement wasn't right, so they were told to do it again, and then it disappeared for a while. I think it came back one more time, but now it's back again, in some form. I don't know if it's a main or an outside user, but if they're here, maybe they can clarify what the request is, because if you want to do a main extension, you'd have to authorize a map plan and report, just like you would have to do if you were going to build a water drainage district or a sewer district.
So are the affected parties in the room?
No.
Okay.
I think we can't act on this because we don't know what they're asking for.
Mike, do you have any information, or John, do you have any information?
They submitted items in here,
Yeah, I saw that.
which I believe they think is what they were supposed to submit.
Right, what they've drawn is a water main extension.
Right, to then add on more users, right? I don't think the main, isn't quite long enough.
Maybe the main doesn't go far enough down,
No, it doesn't, it doesn't. This has been where it's broken down every time in the past, because there wasn't clarity on this point. Or maybe, at one time, there was an easement drafted, but it wasn't drafted correctly, and that was a whole big issue for reasons I'll never understand, but it is what it is. So what they've actually drawn is a water main extension, which would be, is this an extension to the Consolidated Water District itself, or District 1?
I haven't
Where
seen-
would
I
the
haven't-
main come off of? I think it's the Consolidated Water District.
Yeah.
Because the outside user rate would be substantially different for the Consolidated Water District as opposed to Extension 1 or any of the other extensions. Because your rate is tied to the underlying extension that's supplying the water.
Has Wasabi talked about this water main extension as an actual
At least 3
project?
times that I can remember going back to 2015.
And what was the answer, other than your easements aren't right and stuff like that?
The first time, the answer was it should be a main.
Okay?
I think at one time they were willing to approve the outside user agreement, but they wanted the easement to be drawn correctly, and we never heard back. So it didn't get approved. It's, whatever it was, is dead.
So we've never really given them a definitive on this one.
We've never really gotten a complete application either.
That's no problematic.
Do we have some kind of document that tells them what a complete application would be so that they can just look at it and say, give us these 8 items and we will consider it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been sent several times, including by CJ twice in 2018.
Well, what is
And again,
missing? What is missing?
No, I'm more than familiar. What's missing is, one, clarification as to exactly what this is, but if they wanted to go forward with an outside user agreement or with a extension, you would simply need to have a correct easement.
Okay.
An easement that's in fact, the package that's sent actually gives a sample easement. Literally, it's easement, and you fill in the blanks and it says sample across it. But for whatever reason, that was never supplied to an attorney who drafted an easement, and the town wasn't named as a beneficiary of the easement. So it's pretty hard to imagine putting in a water main or a water line where the town doesn't have access to the public infrastructure.
Right.
So-
I think they were under the impression that they could be an outside user, so that might be part of the complication.
If they wanted to be outside users, it would be easy, it just wouldn't be drawn like that.
Okay.
Because the
So
curb
maybe-
boxes would have to be at where the main is.
Right.
So-
It probably needs to have someone that's more involved than the town clerk's office,
I-
communicating with the applicant.
I think our answer is to say, here's what you need to give us in order for us to consider this. I'm not sure who the person is to give them that. Not me, because I don't have the document.
Yeah, this is sort of like the district that they wanted to put in down the hill where it was drawn, where there was actually no land. It just, you can keep coming back with the same plan, but at some point or another, you've either got to submit a plan for a water main extension, which is what this is, or an application for an outside user. So I don't know what they're petitioning for. That's why I red flagged and said, the water line is unclear. I agree with you. I think what they want to do is an outside user system.
I think it'd be helpful that if they were here as part of the process to answer the questions that Joe has. And I
Because
have.
if referring it to the Water and Sewer Advisory Board, you'd sort of want to know what you're referring. Examination of a district extension, and off of which district is the supply, or referring an outside user agreement for the formal, we recommend this, go forth and get your easements processed so it can go through the formal process. That's why I red flagged it. I don't know which this is.
John, could you contact them and tell them we need more information in order to process
Yes.
this? Thank you.
Yes, I can. I communicated with the applicant, I think it was in May, and sent them the full package of materials. I
I
think
did
Mike
as
has
well.
communicated with them in the in-between time, so I'll follow up, okay?
Okay.
And
Will you CC me on that, so then I'm in the loop when he reaches out to me?
Yeah, I think that clearly either would work in this location. It's just what are they actually petitioning for? And
That
Yeah,
might be the
let's
confusion.
let's get a clear application and then we can discuss how to move forward on it.
Is that okay with the rest of the board?
Yes.
We're okay with that? Okay.
John,
Good.
could you copy Jesse and myself also? Because the problem with this procedure, the way it's written, is it's not real clear to the applicant what they need. I'm not saying just this particular time, but it's not real clear, and they're supposed to bring it to the town clerk's office, and honestly, we don't really have a clue
Right.
of what they're really supposed to be bringing us. So whatever they bring us, we say, thank you very much, we'll pass this along.
I'll absolutely. include
So,
you on all.
yeah, that would be great.
You got it. Okay, we done with that? Are we okay? All right, let's move on. Department reports. Anything from the library?
We have a report submitted from the library. If anybody has any questions, you can ask them. And then we also have the Lansing Youth Services.
Okay.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Going once, going twice? Okay.
Mike's not here.
Michael is not here, okay. Mike Mosley, Highway Department.
Good evening, I think. It's late.
It's not morning yet.
There's one correction to my report I'd like to make, and it's water and sewer. We now have had 20 water main breaks, not 18. Had 2 the other day.
20?
20 on the
Okay.
year, which is impacting my overtime for my full crew.
What
And
causes this?
corrosion, the soil. Basically, the ductile pipe, which is concrete on the inside, the corrosive soil just eats holes through it. And where the contractors don't bag it completely, holes are formed. And then there's lines that have been in the ground since the 80s, late 80s, that are not bagged. Sometimes the contractors backfill with rock, right? So, but it's really the soil that just eats through the pipe eventually.
I think what the answer is, we're coming to the end of the lifespan of the first water mains
Yep.
we've been putting in, and so we're going to be replacing them piecemeal.
Yes, that's on the docket, working
I
with
don't know what
TG
the
Miller.
answer is, but it is problematic.
Right. I commend my crews, they've worked tirelessly this year. Even Pat's guys have helped out here and there, so thank you. The community thanks you, the districts thank you. There's a couple things that I don't have on here. Obviously, I emailed all of you regarding Ludlaville Road, Crooked Hill, Snake Hill, Stoughton Engineering, and TG Miller will be now working with Edger Enterprise to come up with pricing for that project. Orchard Earth and Pipe backed out between the last time we spoke and today. The nice thing is that Edger has offered to do it pro bono and not charge the town anything, so that's a bonus. So we're hoping to have some figures to the town board by the next meeting. We were hoping that we'd have something this month, it's just not the case.
And I passed that information on to the folks at Ludloville,
Yep.
because they were expecting an answer today, and I wanted them to not come here and discover they got poofed.
Right. Appreciate that. Number 2, Auburn Road, obviously, I've emailed all of you as well. We took samples, Dave Herrick and I were down there with another man who took samples from number 2 Auburn Road for the asbestos. I assume that's gonna go out for testing, and we'll figure out where we're gonna be with that structure, and how much is in it, and what abatement we're gonna have to do, hopefully by November as well. In November 3rd, I think maybe you've seen some flyers around. There's going to be a tire collection that the county's putting on, Tompkins County Soil and Water. Angel approached me about this. It's something the town used to do. It's a little bit different because back in the day, the town used to haul the tires. Now, Mix Brothers is going to haul the tires. There's going to be 5 people there from Soil and Water taking the tires. I believe it's $2 per tire. It's on the electronic board, I believe, Pat. There's also some flyers here and around town. So we encourage people to bring. The tires need to be clean. They're going to be recycled for playground material and something else. You can't bring dirty tires, they'll be refused.
Will they take tractor tires?
They do not take tractor tires.
Nobody takes tractor tires.
Correct. Maybe Pete's tire. I don't know. But, yeah, I think there's flyers out near Pat's office on it.
Yeah, it's also on the website.
Yep, thank you.
Is that, the tire collection is at the highway building?
It's going to be on the campus, up at the campus, yes. On November 3rd, from 1 to I'd have to check the flyer, honestly. And that's it. Any questions?
No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on. Pat? Park and Rec.
I'll be much shorter. I'll just mention from my report, trunk or treat, already have 120 some registered. Spots are filling very fast for that. It's an awesome event at Myers Park.
Nice.
Couple things I wanted to mention. I know with budget and numbers and number crunching, things seemed kind of dire last month. But with these reports that you all have this September completion, our office actually covered, that's expended and earned, we covered 90% of ourselves. So I know that's not gonna last, obviously, it'll come down a little bit, but we're expected to cover at least 76% of ourselves, so.
Yourselves being expenses?
Yes, the only thing that's left out of there is employee benefits,
Okay.
so. Couple other things I wanted to mention, because it was brought up at the last meeting as well. We served 300 more kids this year versus last year, and that's just through now. For programming, we added an additional 20 programs this year over last year. With all of that, we still had 196 kids we had to put on a wait list that didn't make it into a program. So, versus last year it was 86. So,
And what kind of programs are you talking about?
that's all of our camps, baseball, softball, all the, everything like that. So.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions for Pat?
No, I just want to say good job.
Thank you.
Anybody else? So the concern is that you have all these kids that are looking for something to do, and you can't put them in camps. Hopefully they don't come from the judges eventually. So,
If they do, it's on you.
Let's not make it that dire yet.
as you know, I don't do the blame game. Are there ways to do scholarships either through businesses? Are there ways to be a little bit creative about this? Because we've asked, rather than just do the usual mantra of grants and taxpayer money, there are other ways we can do the sponsorships. I'm not asking you to have your magic wand, because it's probably exhausting.
It's not a matter of paying, it's a matter of space and number of sessions. So we're gonna look at bumping up the number of sessions we offer for that specific program. So we won't have a wait list. Those kids will be able to participate in a different session.
Well, that's good to know, because I was looking for the choke points.
Yeah.
You know, what's the, like we did when they had to turn away people at the drop-in center way back when.
Right.
But I met with Steve Quell, he needed another person.
Yeah.
And we found $5,000 so they could, now it's come full circle.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, there are ways, once you address the concerns, to find ways outside of the norm to do this.
Yeah.
It's a matter of what we need, right?
That's right.
Okay. Good job.
Thanks.
Okay. Planning Department, John.
I've submitted my report, pretty standard this month. Spent an awful lot of time in meetings discussing solar developments of various ilks and drainage districts, which have been taking up an inordinate amount of time. Really nothing notable besides that you'll notice that there was 21 building permits issued last month. We've actually already exceeded that this month. We're at 27 halfway through the month of October. So the department's pretty busy. If you folks have any questions, let me know. And I would respectfully ask to be dismissed from this meeting if you don't have any further business with my department.
You too, Mike, you want to go?
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Engineers report. There. Town clerk, Debbie.
My report's in the packet if you have any questions. I think the only highlight is about the board vacancies that we've listed again, about the different boards and what the vacancies are. We're trying to work on that.
Wonderful. Okay, good job.
You're not going to ask to leave now that your report's done?
I don't think it would be granted. So.
What are we at here now? It's like consent.
Consent agenda, yay.
Okay, Ms. Munson, you have the helm. Walk us
Okay,
through, please.
we have 6. Looks like we have 6. Start down the list, start reading them, and we'll just move on. How's
Absolutely.
that?
I'll maybe do the first 2 even. Motion to add Total Care Employee Assistance Program, EAP, benefits and coverages to town-provided health care policies. And B is motion authorizing supervisor to sign intermunicipal agreement with Tompkins County Soil and Water for Pine Grove Waterline Protection Project.
Okay, Andre, you want to do the next 2, please?
C, motion approving contract between town and Express Employment Professionals. D, motion authorizing asbestos analysis and abatement for 2 Auburn Road.
Ruth, do the next one, please.
E, resolution scheduling public hearing for special districts proposed 2024 budgets. F, resolution scheduling public hearing for the town of Lansing preliminary budget for 2024.
There you go.
I'll move the consent agenda.
There you go, Joe. We got you.
I'll second.
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Ruth Groff,
Yes.
Bronwyn Lossey,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Item 12, resolution approving audit and budget modification for the supervisor's report.
I'll move that.
I'll second it. I have a quick question. On the budget modifications, is this about the sign in front of the school that got hit, this insurance one? It's the third one down. We had a sign that got messed up in front of the school that we're replacing, and I'm wondering if that's what that insurance is.
It says to move insurance payment received to expenditure code.
Oh, yeah.
Was that it?
Is that, is,
That's the insurance payment, yeah.
for that sign? That was my question.
Yes.
Thank you.
I was anticipating a large amount here.
We're still working on some of the budget bonds from like technology and things. So we wanted to do it one time, and we weren't confident in the number this time, so we'll do it next month.
Okay. My understanding is everyone has sharpened their pencils.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. Any other discussions?
I assume that we've worked over the health insurance line for next year's budget, so we don't do this again?
Yeah, well, part of that was the people coming on that were not I wasn't aware of.
Okay.
And now I've got a little bit of a heads up on what's going to likely be happening next year, so it should be a little closer,
Okay.
Good.
a lot closer.
I hope so.
Well, we don't, there's some people that, if they're under 26, a lot of them still have parents' insurance. There's other ones that they got married and now have a family insurance, so these are things you can't control 100%, but, that sometimes these things happen.
And that was the biggest reason, several people that were individuals,
Sure.
either not on it at all,
Yeah.
or on as individuals and went to family, and
Yeah.
that adds a lot.
Yeah, we had 2 from the code, or from the rec department, they were basically without insurance from us, they had insurance, but we called them a full-time, part-time people, because you paid this hourly wage. It was quite nice for years to do that. So, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so Andrew, you made the motion, and Joe, you seconded it.
Sure.
Just double checking. Andrew Benson?
Yes.
Ruth Groff?
Yes.
Bronwyn Lossey?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes, board member reports. Andra?
Mine were covered by the library and the youth services.
Ruth?
Oh, mine's in the packet.
We're on one?
There was no ZBA or broadband meeting this month, so I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Joe?
My report's mostly in the packet, but I did get a request on the listserv. I guess Verizon has changed their tower specifications, and a lot of people are complaining about not getting cell service now. And they've asked if the town can do anything to put pressure on Verizon, who tells them to, get a repeater if they want to use their cell thing. And I don't know if the town has anything that we can do or wants to push Verizon at all, and so I'm bringing that to this board to ask people's thoughts.
Well, I would defer to the attorney who's talking about pressure.
Who seems to be nodding as if he understands the
Well,
issue.
no, I understand what you're talking about, because you have to turn on airplane mode or restart your phone 2 or 3 times a day just to get texts.
Yeah.
I get better signal in gorges on Seneca Lake and up in northern St. Lawrence County than I do on the hill in Lansing. So, we have 2 colleges, so what can you do to force Verizon to change their system? Well, they have to get licensed through the FCC, and they need to get some approvals from the Public Service Commission. So it's sort of like arguing with the cable company. You can do it, but where does it get you? So first step would be to write to them, and then maybe write to your state and federal representatives and say, we'd like, the FCC or someone to look in this. It's denying essential service that you've licensed them to provide. I don't know what the solution is. Obviously, more towers are needed.
But so the town could write a letter.
About interruption of service or whatever it was that caused it. Because more than just Verizon is on those towers.
It's a realignment of Verizon stuff, is my understanding from the discussion on the listserv.
I mean, how the towers are
I think
communicating, how they're backlighting and
They readjusted some of their antennas on the towers, and it doesn't focus in the same place as it used to. That's what I've heard. I don't know that.
Who would you call to find out that?
I came to the board and said, what should we do? Because I didn't have a good answer as to what the town could do. Because it's, like I said, it's all federally regulated, though I think we do lease them one of their tower spots.
yeah, they always have to come to you for approvals when they want to put up more towers. So usually they try to be somewhat responsive to municipalities, whether or not it will solve the problem. I think it was Verizon about 4 years ago that got an approval to put a tower up on near the car wash. It was somewhat controversial at the time.
Yep. In the fall zone on a house and all that kind of stuff.
But they got the approval by engineering a break point in because material science, you can get it to fold over. I mean, obviously, if a wind or a tornado is strong enough to knock down one of those monopoles, then the least of your worries is where it's falling, because most of your houses and trees are gone too. But they did get that approval, and that was 4 or 5 years ago, but as far as I know, they haven't built any. So maybe they're gearing up to build. I don't know, there might be a reason for it. But, someone who actually tracks what they're doing and why and what their applications are on a daily basis, like the consultant we use for the cable, that might be a first place to go to get advice on how to try to tackle this. I mean, that's what they do,
What I'm
it's
hearing-
telecom.
Right, I'm hearing, you've mentioned the cable a couple of times in the broadband. I'm wondering if this would be a logical extension of our broadband committee's work.
I didn't hear that, Rona.
I'm wondering if it would be a logical extension of the broadband committee's work.
Oh, broadband, okay.
But I think the current broadband committee has people who's kind of expertise in broadband, which this is a different niche. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like who can follow up on this and have some idea what they're talking about, so we're not just saying like, we should do something and we don't quite understand it.
Well, we could certainly consult the Cohen people, but we'd also have to come at it with the budget line, because they're being paid for one specific project.
Right.
First thing I would suggest is, from my experience, that sometimes they don't give you the answer, but they give you somebody who will give you the answer. Because when you're in that field, a lot of times it's like, geez, I got a bad knee. Well, okay, I'm at internal medicine, but you can go to Dr. Schwartz and do it. And a lot of times they do the referral. So maybe before we spend money, perhaps the broadband, I guess, will have to charge you with this.
That's why I didn't take it to the broadband committee.
No, and this is fine, it's all part of the procedure. is to ask you to inquire first if there is any, are there any contacts out there that the broadband committee can inquire about this or leads on it? And then if there needs to be a line item, right, if there needs to be research by pay, then that's something you can come back to this committee or this town board and say, okay, this is what we found out. This is, we need to have this amount of research done, kind of like a private detective would do. You say, okay, can we do that? Does that sound reasonable? Are you up to the task of doing that?
Sure.
Broadband people?
Sure.
And while I'm on the subject of broadband, this is just an inquiry. We're still trying to, is it not a criticism?
No, I'm telling you what the process.
The spectrum and the contract and everything.
We-
I just want an update.
Yeah, we got a draft from our attorneys. We said that the draft didn't focus enough on getting more households covered. And so we went through a whole bunch of revisions on how to revise that draft, send it back to Cohen, who sent it to Verizon, and Verizon's sitting on it.
Not Verizon.
No, not Verizon, sorry, Spectrum.
Charter.
Spectrum.
Well, I find it remarkable that we just got through a pandemic and everyone says, yeah, this is really important, almost as important as running water. And we seem to have just forgot about it.
Oh, we haven't forgotten about it.
I'm not
Spectrum sits on these.
I'm not saying the committee in general, this should be a priority as with electricity and running water for the government. I hate to rely on the government because we know how that works sometimes, but say, you need to get these in here, right? You need to get this in on a reliable basis, whether you run the cables, whatever you have to do, but because this is not about education, it's about the economy, and it's about health. But like with everything else, that seems to have this kind of faded. This is my own personal opinion, so I don't drag us on too long.
Well, I will point out that the county is just putting out their RFP to find places that, or companies that will finish off the houses that have been identified as not being able to get cable.
The final mile.
The final mile. So that's in the process right now. The county, I think, is just getting their inputs from various companies at this point. I have not heard, I think the deadline's like the end of this month for people to make submissions, but don't hold me to that date. So that's in process right now.
From a personal standpoint, where I am, it's not about me, but on a good day, I can hit it with a rock, but they don't come down to my street, or they intend to, because there's enough density and they cannot make enough money. And the song and dance continues in my opinion. I'll say my opinion.
Oh, Ed, I'll one up you. For 2 years, we could look at the cable running in front of our house, but they claimed it wasn't there.
So, I guess we can move on now. The only thing I have on the supervisor's report, and this is something I'll leave out to the next board, is, I don't think we have enough time this year, though our church is investigating this, is that there is now, you may already know this, a rebate program going on for nonprofits.
Oh, what
From
kind of
who?
program?
For solar. This is a rebate program
Rebate.
going on now, and I'll send you, whoever wants, I'll send you what the link is. But, and our trustees are going through the negotiations right now with the feedback is, and the idea is, we have looked at heat pumps and other things, but because you're a nonprofit, it's the tax credit, it is a lot of times that carrot. Well, as nonprofits, you don't pay taxes. So now, the government has realized that all the nonprofits, and I think Tompkins County has like 50% of the profits that are tax exempt, that if you go through the system and put solar panels on that nonprofit, you'll actually get a check back.
Rather than a tax credit, because it doesn't matter.
Because we don't have it. I think that's something, like I said, we're looking into, it isn't like this fantasy, and I'll get back to you what the, but you can do the calculations, and I'll get the contact number. They'll do the calculations for you, what the payback period is on this. Payback for the money that you haven't recovered.
Right.
That balance. So it's something to maybe
Sure.
cautiously investigate
Okay.
on that, and you look interested in that, so maybe I'll send you the link. I'll also send you some information as our trustee chairs communicating back and forth as far as what their formulas are, and they'll do the calculations, and, okay, you'll save so many cents. because from a personal standpoint, this is just our electric budget has went up 50% of the church. Part of that is the rate and the usage, but coming back from the pandemic. I only use that as an example, not because it's that church. I mean, I really don't care as long as it doesn't matter to me. But I use that as a hard example, that's reality. And so as the rates keep going up, there may be other ways. And Joe and I investigated before on this. It was like $75,000 going to cost after the rebate. There's some number where we said, oh, that's because we're a nonprofit. So
Yep.
anyways, and you may want to bounce that up and also because you guys will be around next year, 1/4.
Okay.
Work session, do we need to go into board appointments?
Yes, because we have appointments coming up, and, you know, CAC specifically has been asking, what is our process? Are we going to interview people? Who's going to interview them? What's the deadlines? And so I'm coming to this board and saying, we should set up hard deadlines of when applications have to be in. We should say what the interview process is going to be so that everybody understands it, because right now it seems vague.
Well, they are not a working committee, right? They are a standing committee like the ZBA committee, right?
They are a committee that's set up under New York State law.
Right, like the planning board. So, what is the process if it was the planning board or if it was the ZBA? You probably use the same process.
I think that we should institute a process that's similar to the one that's being discussed in our proposal for committees and boards, which is this board does interviews, and it includes any staff person who is involved with that committee, and it includes a number of people from that committee, less than a quorum, to come and join us. Quorum means more paperwork, that's why we're using
That's what I was
that.
wondering, why that guidance, okay.
And since they're all different numbers, it's different numbers depending on whether
So the entire town board,
the entire town board,
less than a quorum of the committee would be filling the spots for.
Right.
And the folks from the department.
and any staff person who works with that committee directly.
So the people from the board, was it the chair before that normally is involved in that? The chair of that
Of the
board?
Well,
Is that- was
your
that one
le-
that's
That was
mentioned?
one iteration. that
We left it
was-
vague because if the chair is one of the people being interviewed, you want somebody else from the committee to come forward.
Well, then you can put in the case of.
Well, that's what I'm just saying, two people, you know, less than a quorum, let them pick who it is.
Yeah.
They'll usually pick the chair, but in some cases they won't. I trust the committee to understand that.
Is that where the current codes committee?
That's
That's
the
the
current
current
iteration, something like that, yeah.
May I say something?
Yes.
I didn't bring it with me, but I believe the current policy is not that. The current policy that we truly have is the one that CJ wrote up maybe 3 years ago or so. And a year ago or so, several of people were writing up a new policy which never got adopted.
It's at codes. We're waiting, it's part of the whole committee restructuring, and so it's at the codes committee for them to then bring back because they're getting input from all of the other committees and such.
Okay, but I could be wrong, but I thought we had to follow whatever our current procedure policy is, which is not what is out there in limbo,
Unless you change
trying
it.
to figure it out.
Well, we didn't follow it when we did the planning board last year, and that's where it's starting to come into limbo. We did interviews directly, which is not what that policy says specifically. And so I'm coming to this board and saying, how do we want to do it? Do we want to let the boards just pick their own people and make recommendations to this board? That didn't work for a number of reasons. Mostly this board didn't get to listen to any of the interviews, so we're making blind appointments.
Is your concern that if we were to change it now, it's like, if we were to say, yeah, we want to do Joe's suggestion, would you be comfortable with us making that change and moving forward?
I'm not.
I'm just trying to understand.
I don't think I have a problem with making a change, but you're pretty much too late to do that for this season. We're
Why?
now at the end of October.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to understand.
Okay, so
yeah,
Jesse
yeah.
sent out an email to everyone
Now it
on
does this
September
again, Thomas.
8th
Can
about
we
a
vote
time.
away for you?
So Jesse has spent a lot of time on this. I
Right.
gave a huge kudos to her for
Yeah.
digging into all this.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Because people come to us, I know Ruth did for one, and said, what can I tell the CAC, what are we doing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in order to make everything happen, so that all the committees, as of January 1st,
Right,
have
so
all
we're all
their
ready, yeah, yeah.
appropriate people ready to go, which has not been happening.
Yep.
She sent out this timeline. And the first one was by the end of September, Town Clerk's Office will notify Planning Board, ZBA, Ethics, and CAC chairs with expiring terms, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
That's been done.
Okay,
Thank you, Jesse.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's
October
awesome.
2nd to the 16th, Town Clerk's Office will collect applications. Thank you, Jesse. We've had 2 applications total for CAC. No one else has applied for anything else, even though they've been out there for 2 weeks.
Okay.
October 18th, Town Board meeting. Town Board, given the applications collected, and determine a date to conduct interviews. I don't know, so we have them in our hands tonight, but
Oh, yeah, but it sounds like that would match the procedure Joe's
And then
proposing.
the town clerk's office, again, Jessie said she would take on the task of notifying the applicants of the date and time of interviews if you tell us what they
Okay.
are.
Okay.
And then in November, at some point, again, the town board will interview the applicants. And December 20th, at the regular meeting, we would appoint, we'd make the appointments by resolution. Now, one thing that did come up when Jesse was working on this was in the previous, let's just call it the previous CJ policy. It said that applicants that were not chosen for that committee.
Right, would be kind of kept in the pool.
Would be kept for 3 years. So now a question arises. Is someone supposed to contact them to see if they're still interested? Do they have to reapply? Because the way it is now, on the CAC, for example, they've been told, well, you've been on the CAC, your term is expiring, but you have to reapply. So are you going to tell somebody that applied last year for the, let's say, CAC but didn't get chosen, well, you have to reapply? Or do we just pull out their application? I don't know, it's a bit of a mess there. Yeah.
Got it.
And Jesse may have some more stuff to throw in here.
No, that's, no, that's awesome, and it sounds like that does match with, and would work fine with the proposal that is coming up from codes, or the sort of draft that's coming up from codes. if that's what
I see no reason why we can't take all the applications and anybody who's on one of these boards and says, I would like to stay on, and just make that pool of all of those people. Anyone who's applied now, anyone who's got an application that's pending from before, and anyone who says on this board, on one of these boards, I would like to stay on. Does that make sense, Jesse?
So are you saying if they're on a board and want to stay on, they don't need to fill out a new application?
Don't we have an application on file with them already?
We probably do for most of them, yes.
I mean, I think, unless something substantially changed, I think,
I've already told the chairs that if someone on the board wants to be considered, they have to reapply. So I think, let's not go back and change it now.
okay, that's fine.
I've already sent that email to the chairs.
And it'll also mean we have changed what the application looks like in 7 years, so if,
My biggest thing was you're asking somebody who's on a board, you have to reapply, but yet you have this person over here who applied 3 years ago, but they don't have to reapply, I'm just gonna give their application to you. It seems not consistent.
It doesn't seem consistent. That's why I'm leaning towards if someone on a board says, I've got an application. I understand on the planning board, if it's 7 years old, the application may have changed, but not for the alternates. The alternates filled one out last year, and if they want to just say it's the same as last year, I think that's sufficient, but I'm not trying to put more work on you. I'm trying to put less if I can.
Yeah, I think it would just be easier to be consistent.
Consistent, yes.
I wonder if for now, reaching out to people who have applied within the past 3 years, especially if they thought that they would be kept in the pool, and just saying, we're asking you to reapply if you're interested. So,
I would probably just draft an email and
Yeah.
send an email.
Well,
Exactly.
but wait, whoa. Who's gonna do that? Because I think Jesse has really done a lot that has nothing to do with our department. So I don't think that it should be her responsibility to dig out those applications or even get the applications and then reach out to people. I think, like, planning board chair maybe reaches out to whoever was a reject from the year before, the past 3 years, or the ZBA chair, or the CAC chair.
What's the procedure? Because it appears as though you just wings. What's the procedure say right now? If you don't like the procedure, then you need to change the procedure because you have to be consistent.
The problem is, we did this ambiguous thing of saying your application will be on file for 3 years.
Right.
And
And
then we
it's-
didn't set up a process for
It
how
stopped right there. That was the end of that little tree right
And so
there.
we need to fix that.
Yes, I think, I agree with you, but you're also trying to do an action right now based on the protocol without that change.
Well, some of this is already changing the policy, which,
Well-
because we're just trying to get people into committees by the first of the year, and so when you're saying you need a new policy, well, there's not enough time to make that happen.
I know, so we're trying to figure out what to do this year, and the codes is working on putting a permanent policy together for the future.
And I think what you're saying is gonna happen is they're gonna be contacted to interview with the town board. I mean, that's what Joe is saying too, like, it's all the same.
Might I suggest that, like, a lot of times when you put in for a job application and you're told, we'll keep your resume on file for 3 years, and, you know, just so we have it of record, and normally the employer would call back and say, hey, are you still interested? Would you like to update your resume and come in for an interview? That may be what CJ intended. I can't tell you. I don't have the policy in front of me. I didn't draft it. My only recommendation is that whatever the written policy is, that's what you should be doing.
Amen.
Yeah. So if we keep them on file for 3 years, what you're saying is who contacts them because y'all are busy.
Well, I don't think it's my department.
Yeah, no, that's fine, that's legitimate. I'm
Then
just
then it
saying.
sounds like it's going to go on John, because
Or
most
can
of,
they go to the chairs of the committees?
well, it's still John, somebody's going to have to talk to each chair and say, you're going to have to do this, and it might be quicker to just do it themselves.
Yeah. I don't think there's 40 deep applications we're talking about.
No, I think there's like 10 or 15, though. I think there's a bunch for the planning board, there's probably 1 or 2 for ZBA, and I think there's 2 or 3 for CAC.
What if those of us that are the town board liaison with the,
We don't have the applications.
well, what if, how would we get them?
We
And that's
can
what I'm
get-
saying.
Contact the chair.
Yeah.
I'm saying the
Does
amount
the
of
chair
time
know?
that it takes for them to get it to us, they might as well just send an email out to each of these people. That's,
Who's the, wait, what?
Well, somebody has to get the applications to the chair or somebody to start with.
right, and I'm saying
that
that
something?
amount of work is about the same as sending an email to each of those people saying, if you want to reapply, now's the time.
So that's coming back to my department.
Well, no, I don't think it has to. Where are the applications?
I think Jesse has them at this moment.
Even-
She, because again, she went above and beyond.
Right,
and
so
got
you
them.
have them for the last 3 years also? Okay, so I think that if that is just like the last straw in all of this awesome extra work you've been doing, that's totally legitimate. And I am happy to take on contacting, talking to the chair of the ZBA and getting the information to get those folks contacted, if that would be helpful for you, or staying out of the way if another cook in the kitchen would be too much. Just whatever.
I think we could pretty easily scan the applications and send them out to the planning board, ZBA, and CSC.
Fantastic.
And then they can do whatever they need to do with them.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That'd be great. Yeah, if that is the sort of easiest next step for you, that sounds awesome.
But again, none of this is really following the current policy.
Well, the current policy is not clear, so we have to kind of.
No, that part, this part, yes, it stopped there, but the part
That's-
about the interviewing and stuff that we did last year, where we kind of went off the rails and didn't follow the current procedure, We're still at the current procedure from a year ago.
No.
That's never changed.
But what you're reading.
This is what she was proposing, but this is
Right.
not,
So if we today
This is-
say that that's current procedure, then it is. And it won't change anything.
if you're
y'all have
saying
done.
what she's done is current procedure, then I guess,
But no, if we say that, because what she's done sets us up for Joe's proposal. Right? Like, you said that the town board would contact them about interviews. Isn't that what you said?
well, she was proposing that the town clerk's office would notify people of
Okay.
interviews. But the whole interview thing that we did last year, that you guys did last year, was not even part of the procedure
Right,
last year.
But if we make it the procedure now, why not? Like,
So you're gonna
is-
make it a procedure tonight?
I don't know, I'm asking if that's a possibility, I'm just confused.
Sounds like we're gonna hang them, then give them a trial.
I didn't quite understand what you said, Ed.
We need to follow the procedure. If you don't have a procedure, you need to do the procedure. But
Right,
is it appropriate just to, for lack of a better word, shove the procedure through tonight when no one's had a chance to look at the procedure from our public to see if they have a question about the procedure?
I mean, this was, the old procedure was rejected about last January
yeah.
with a new procedure that was gonna come around, and now
Oh.
we're in October and we didn't do it, so I'm saying I don't know how you're gonna make that happen timely.
Where does it stand with codes?
Of all the committees, we've got kind of it narrowed down to what I just described.
Right.
That's what everybody's felt comfortable with so far. It hasn't finished through codes because there's a bunch of other things that need to be adjusted because there was a lot of comments, and I really appreciate the comments from the clerk's office.
Is there a way that they could bring that part back to us to approve that part, so we follow the part about
Procedure?
appointments? Or is that
well,
integrated so much into?
No, it could be. I'm just saying timing-wise,
Yeah.
when would we do it? At our November 7th meeting or whatever that date is? And
That's
approve
for
it?
the budget, public
Add special
hearing.
meeting for the budget.
We could add this to the agenda. I'm just saying,
When's the next codes meeting?
yeah, but this, if you have this board meet to approve it, it would be at that meeting that we finally approve it. And if you folks want, I can have it come to this board at that point. But does that bollocks up the rest of the organization in terms of
Right, yeah, no, I don't know.
moving forward?
Well, we haven't gotten through the code committee yet.
Well, the code committee was okay with that language.
What I'm wondering is if that part, if we can ask the code committee if that's ready for it to move forward, because we have been working on this since last year at this time, and it's madness. So we just.
We could get it from the codes committee to the town board at November 8th or 7th, whatever the date of that meeting is.
If we did that, and we said, yes, and let's follow this policy
Yeah.
that we've been working on for a year and moved it forward, would that work within the timeline that y'all need to make your lives not even nuttier?
I guess it's possible. You're gonna do the interviews in November sometime.
We do them
Not
at
sure
our
when we
November meeting, presumably.
Guy, what do you think about this? Again.
well, when a policy was adopted in like July or August of 2022 and then discarded in January of 2023 in favor of an ad hoc policy, my comment was you should follow the existing policy or amend it to work the way you want it to, which I think is also what you said at a meeting. That didn't happen. So now we've gone to a larger project of trying to amend it. We're right back in the same boat we were, and my advice is follow the existing policy or amend it to how you want it to work.
And Bronwyn's,
Because if you're just gonna make it up as you go, why have a policy at all?
well, Bronwyn is suggesting that we have it amended at our November 8th or 9th, whatever that meeting is. And she's asking, will that timeline work for staff?
Well, I don't think that's a question for Guy.
Yeah, I have no idea what
Against
you're
you, Guy, but I'm not
proposing.
asking you.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, theoretically, you can adopt it whenever you want, based on what process. And that's for you guys to decide. My concern is, there is an existing policy. I'm not sure anyone that's sitting here knows exactly how it would have to be changed or be rewritten to make that deadline. But yes, it's possible that someone could author a new policy and make
Well,
that deadline.
the policy is offered, it's just not finalized. That is part of what we've been working, we've sent to codes to work on.
Well, that's different than what's there.
Yes.
Okay, so what's there is different from the policies that's at code, which is different from the policy that's being discussed, which is different from the policy that's in writing and approved.
They're not in conflict with each other. The codes one doesn't actually have dates.
Okay.
But it has-
Whatever. You asked for my advice. I don't want to get to a point where I'm interpreting Plan 1, Plan 2, Plan C, and Plan X. I'm saying whatever policy you're going to use, since you have a written policy, either follow the existing written policy or amend it. There's not ambiguity in that advice. Can you change it in time? Probably. You'll just have to figure out who's going to change it and what you're going to
And
change, and you need 3 people to agree.
If we don't, then we appoint somebody in January or February, and not December. Like, I think we can, I just really want to get
Okay,
this.
I agree. I will have something written up for codes to work with at their next meeting, which is in a week, week and a half, whatever it
And
is.
if they can, if everybody agrees, if they can send it back to us, so we can say, yes, this is our policy, this is the first step of the entire committee policy structure situation, then we can continue the process that Jesse started for us wonderfully and is underway, and we can just continue it.
I do have one question. I think you had codes working on, I don't think you were calling it a policy, I think you were calling it a local law. Which,
Yes.
which is a whole nother,
Right, but we can pass that part as a policy and keep working on the local law.
Okay.
I'm just bringing that out there.
Yeah.
It's-
No, and I think that's.
Personally, my personal opinion, I don't think it should be a local law because you want to make one little tweaky change.
Yeah.
Well,
The whole mess,
I mean,
right.
this policy making a few changes is
Well, I mean,
like
and
taking
that's-
us 10 months and not done, so.
Well, part of the thing is, like, we're figuring it out, it shouldn't be a local law, but I think we could spend 6 more years getting it perfect and not be able to move the business of the town forward, or we can take this, bring it back through the best of the process we've done so far, adopt it as the policy.
I think what Debbie's making reference to is that the local law is a time factor.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, and I'm saying, say, this is part of the proposal, they're still figuring out what should be law, what should be policy, because it's silly to make a lot of it law.
Exactly.
But some of it should be, and so that is why codes is diving into it, and we aren't doing, but this part, we can say, this is the proposed policy for this part, there's a reason we need it sooner than the whole finished product. Let's move forward with that.
Speaking of moving forward, are we in a good spot where everybody knows what they're supposed to do?
I will have something to codes in the next few days.
Okay, thank you.
And then will somebody circulate it like was circulated before to make sure people are in agreement that that's going to work okay?
I'll send it out to a broader group.
First of all, let's see if codes is comfortable moving forward.
If they can get it together, like in the next, well, I mean,
Well, I think Debbie wants to see it at the same time codes is seeing it, so she can make comments.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that's fair.
Yeah, you should see it.
okay, I mean, we have to implement stuff.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so it'll get sent out to the larger group, and codes will look at it.
And
And
say-
if anyone has any comments, feel free to pass them on.
And if you're fine with not appointing people till January, February to committees, then just keep waiting. I mean,
It's not the.
It's nothing to me.
You know, as I said, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Right? What's the worst that could happen is that we've done it before, when God forbid somebody passed away during their year and you had one less person. What's the worst that could happen? Is you still maintain the functionality.
Exactly, it doesn't
of the
render
committee.
anything
You would
useless.
still be able to do what the committees were charged to do or were allowed to do. And like I said, the sense of urgency, I sense is the first mouse syndrome again, that we're so focused on this, take a step back and say, okay, are we comfortable going forward? And what's the worst thing that can happen if you don't get them until February? You're still gonna have leadership in these positions, you're still gonna have people there, and if it's an open meeting like the CAC is, people can come and watch and stay, just like people who run for elections are in the audience, they can get up to speed if they want to do that, because if they get appointed, they're going to be here anyways. I mean, so, get it, I hate the word right, because you just have 3 people define what right is on the board, right? And then next week come along, they may say, no, this is right instead. But get to a comfort zone so that the policy is where you want it to go.
So that's the alternate option, is we can either ask codes to bring out that section so we can move forward with it, so we can get people appointed in December, or we can say, we're gonna follow this procedure through, we're just gonna wait on appointing these few absent slots and let codes work its way through. I think that's what you're saying is the other option. We can
You want
decide.
the procedure, the policy, to be consistent and not to be a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
To get what you envision.
Right, for sure.
And if you do your due diligence, as they say, right, and you vet this and you do what you, at the end of the day, the impression won't be that they're all scattered.
Right.
No, but the impression is they were methodical about it, they were thoughtful, they were respectful, they knew the procedures, they knew how the town works. They say, we're okay. We're okay moving forward, and if we have 2 less members, but you still have a quorum, it's okay. We can move forward, or they can do the work, and the other ones will catch up. It's okay.
What does everybody else feel about that option?
Let's see what codes comes up with. We'll make a decision in November.
When we
Let's
can
see
talk
what,
about it and look at it and say,
when we have something in our hand, we can
Right.
either say, this seems too slapped together, let's not do it, or we can say, this works.
right, and, you know, or if code says like, no, we can't slap that together, this is not doable, and Debbie's like, this is ridiculous, this is horrible, yeah, okay.
Well, the one thing you're gonna wanna remember is, or to check, maybe somebody needs to check, maybe the liaisons need to check with the boards is, are there still gonna be enough people on the boards for quorums? Because
Right.
some of these have.
We have 3 we're worried about.
My under-
CAC has 5 vacancies.
My understanding is that
Right.
until we appoint new people, the other people can continue in their position,
Yeah.
If they so choose.
if they so
Right,
choose.
right, but their appointment lasts until a new appointment.
Right.
Well, if that's true, that also takes a lot of pressure. It doesn't mean we diminish the sense of urgency or the energy or the enthusiasm.
Right.
If somebody says that, okay, if these people are willing to do that for another month or 2, just like the 50-mile spare tire, just to get us
Yeah.
through. And I don't minimize this because if it has 50-mile spare tire, they know that it's essential at some point. You say, okay, let's just methodically go through this so we're comfortable, so we don't have, you don't have this discussion next year. Oh, we should have done it this way, why didn't we wait?
Well, we'll invite you back for it, Ed.
I look forward to this adventure. All right, I mean, we're not.
We're done.
No, I think that covered that. I don't know, and I'm gonna apologize in advance if this appears, which I hope it isn't, this discussion with the drainage districts and everything, what do we do about that? I mean, my personal opinion is that let Guy do his work that he's working on, and I mean, it sounds like I'm hearing this information over here, and it's like, where are we with this? But it's unfair to me to jump to conclusions. And Guy, do you think it's appropriate to share a little background information so the board knows?
Well, facts would matter,
Yes.
as so would the truth. You know, as I always say, truth is always the first victim of politics. But
This is
there
the
never
same-
was a drainage
Is this
district.
something we're asking for legal counsel that we should go into closed session?
I think we can go to closed session for legal advice.
That's what I'm.
You can do that, but one thing I want to clarify is, there never was a drainage district. They said there was a drainage district, and it was misformed and it messed up their sale.
Well, before we go any further, why don't I'd like to
Never
move
existed.
into closed session for advice on a subject that was.
Just
Legal advice.
Legal advice, that's
Legal
it.
advice.
Closed session is
on a
legal
subject
advice.
about- Thank you. We haven't lost you.
Go home. Go home.
Okay.
Thank you.
so
Mrs. Monson.
I need to, we're not quite done yet.
Who had said 10-10?
Ed moved it to go to,
Coaching.
and who seconded it? Ruth.
No, you're fine.
Did I actually sign the supervisor's report? Okay.
Twice? 10-18?
18.
Sure.
Okay, I need to call a roll call. I need to vote on this.
Do you need a roll call vote?
No,
or-
I just need a
okay.
vote. Sorry, I said the wrong thing.
No, that's cool.
This is for advice of council.
Yep.
Yeah, for closed session. Ed and Ruth moved it. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, Ed, you
Hit
can
the
press the
button.
button.
There.